Hello and welcome back to the Nonstop Podcast. My name is Erica and I'm your host. On today's episode, we're discussing the realities of starting a family in your 30s. Nonstop is a travel and lifestyle podcast that promotes the importance of traveling and mental wellness for millennial women. We discuss everything from travel to dating and careers to mental health. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for entertainment purposes only. All right, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off and have Obinne go ahead and introduce herself to us, and then we'll get into the juicy stuff.
All right. Well, my name's Obinne. I am 31 years old. I have a family of one. Me and my husband, we just had a child. Didn't just have a child. He's one now. And I guess a little bit about me, my occupation. I am a nurse practitioner by trade. Born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. And ethnic-wise, I am Nigerian. So raised Nigerian with the culture. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it. All right, so let's get right into it, okay? So did you actually plan to wait until your 30s to start your family?
So it's so funny because when I was younger, me and my best friend, we've always been a thing like by 30, I'm going to have a family. By 30, I'll have a kid. By 30, I'll have a. So basically, in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to party it up to the 30.
Love it.
So it's so funny how when they say it's best for you to recite what you want day by day, when you affirm to yourself like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, it can happen. I'm a big believer in that, and I'm also a big believer in prayer. I prayed about it, and it just honestly, once I turned 30, everything just went like this.
Quick, 0 to 100.
Yeah, so I did get married around 27.
Okay.
And me and my husband were like, okay, when we got married, we were like, listen, no kids in the next 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So we traveled, we did things, we really got to know each other. And it was
That.
hard because family came around. Hey, anybody in the oven? Anybody?
Of course.
Anyone? Um, just the pressure. It was hard. It was hard. And I think like once I got to like 29, almost turning 30, I was like, looked at my husband, I was like, let's start. Let's just free blow. Let's just do it. If it happens, it happens. And that's
Yeah.
pretty much what happened. And it's funny because COVID happened.
Yes.
So when COVID happened, everybody was in the house. I was in the house. So we had time because we're both in the healthcare profession. So
Okay.
I want to say for me, COVID was a blessing, honestly. It gave me time to relax, focus
Mhm.
on making a baby.
Yeah, I love it.
That's what
See, now
happened.
I was gonna say people don't think about that side of it.
Yeah, they don't. If you think about it, a lot of people were pregnant during COVID. And it's
Yes,
like
yeah.
when I went to when I used to go to my OB appointments, it would be like people in the waiting room. I'm like, are
Oh.
we still doing COVID precaution? Like it's so much people in the waiting room. I'm like, okay.
That's
Um,
crazy. So,
so yes,
actually, saying that now, how was it? Were you nervous? I mean, actually being pregnant during COVID and all of that, like, at the peak, basically.
yes.
How did you feel with all that?
Very nerve-wracking. It was very
Yeah.
nerve-wracking. I only saw my immediate family.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't go to any, like, Easter, Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
none of that. I've always I used to always wear double masks,
Yeah.
and crazy enough, I was working with COVID patients while pregnant.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
a
How
lot of
was
people were like,
that?
"What?" And I was
Yeah, that's
like,
nuts.
nursing is my profession, so I couldn't, like, stay home.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
didn't start staying home till, like, maybe 2 weeks before I was due.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you
Yeah,
you you thugged it out.
yeah, so even at work, I would wear, like, a triple mask,
Wow. Yeah, you
always
have
washing
to.
my hands, never wore the
Now,
tools inside, like,
did you guys, like, end up doing, like, the face shields and the body
yes,
covers? And
the
yeah,
pills, the
yeah.
body covers, yeah, it was and
Wow.
how people were looking at me. I mean, my contract at the time, they were very nice, so they wouldn't
Okay,
do the COVIDs,
okay.
but there was some times where we couldn't help
You
it.
did I was gonna say it got to the point where I think they were on every floor in every hospital,
Yep,
right?
I
Running out of beds and everything.
tripled up for sure.
Wow.
So yes, that was one thing about me. But it was I mean, I came out okay. I prayed about it. I was like,
Yeah.
I definitely got my vaccine.
Yeah.
So with that, I felt like extra protected. I know a lot
Yeah.
of people were like biased against it at the time.
Yeah.
I was a
And
little
especially being pregnant. So
yeah.
how I was gonna say now I got a whole bunch of questions about the COVID thing. So how did that, sway your, I guess, your choice to do that? Being pregnant and getting the vaccine.
Immunizations. I'm pro
Yeah,
vaccine.
yeah,
I'm so pro. Like,
yeah,
front of the line. Like,
yeah,
I was like, what? I'm like, I don't know, because I just feel like for me and my explanation, my understanding of the vaccine, I'm like, SARS wasn't something new to us.
yeah,
You know what I mean? SARS was something that happened in the past. This
yeah.
is a different mutation.
Yes,
So, the vaccine, that people were like, oh my God, the vaccine was created
it
so
was so
quickly.
quick. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And to me, I was just like, I had to do research. You know what
Yeah,
I
for
mean?
sure.
I think once they call it ACOR, the American Obstetrics, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
When they came out with like the study for pregnant women to get it, that was like my
Okay,
to go.
I
I
love it.
definitely waited till the third trimester.
Okay,
I wanted him to make sure I wanted to make sure he had his 10 fingers, 10
yeah.
toes before I
I like
got
the way
the
you're thinking. Uh-huh.
but I waited to the last minute. I'm not even gonna front. I waited
Yeah.
till like my almost like my last ultrasound when I knew he had all his
Wow.
body parts and stuff.
Yeah,
Then I felt more comfortable.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
No,
But I
I hear.
was nervous. I did a lot of
Of
research
course, of
though, and
course.
Instagram doesn't help sometimes.
Yeah, girl.
There,
I
like
like how they put those little disclaimers now on Instagram or Facebook. They're
you
like,
have
"Wait, okay,
to, you
listen."
have to.
Yeah. But that's interesting. So I don't know. I've seen the studies where they talk about if the mother while pregnant gets the COVID vaccine, then the
Mhm.
baby has antibodies.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you can test it or if if that's a thing, but I'm like, if that's the case,
Yeah.
even better. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
So we
So
actually tested him too, and it is
did
the
you?
case. Yeah, it passes the
Oh,
placenta.
that's
Yep.
that's
So that was
wonderful.
one of the things we did when we first had him. My husband had some kits, so we tested him. He had it, and then I got it again because I did the second
The
shot
second shot. Hmm.
when I was breastfeeding, maybe by like
Okay.
1 month when he was a month old. So he got
Okay.
like more of that. So yeah,
Love it. That
I
little baby is
that.
protected all the way around, honey. Getting the breast milk and everything. Okay. Listen.
I was not
Listen.
playing. I was not playing. And I think for me it's different because I've seen so many people die.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen so many people die. I've
Yeah.
seen so many people die from this in the hospital. So for me, I was just like, okay, he's my number one. I
Yeah,
gotta
of course.
protect him.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. It's
So
hard. It's one of those things that I really hate bringing up like publicly because there's always an extreme person on each side, you know what I mean? And
mhm,
then I'm just like, I don't think anybody else should be able to tell you what you're gonna do. I
exactly.
understand the fear of it.
Mhm.
But there's so much research and so many articles out there. Now
Right.
I got both of my shots and boosted, and I'll probably get another booster. Like, and I'm not
Be there
playing,
with you,
especially
girl. Imma be there with you.
yeah,
Imma
because I'm a flight attendant, and now we don't have to wear masks anymore.
How
So
you
I'm
feeling
like,
about that?
I don't love it. I don't love that because
Ooh.
funny thing is I actually used to mask up pre-COVID. So when I first got hired, I got hired in 2015,
Mhm.
and I tell you, the first year or two, I was sick every 3-4 months. So we weren't allowed to wear a mask at work, but I swear to you, every single time I was in the airport on personal like flights or standby or whatever, I had a mask on.
Yeah, you're being exposed to a lot.
Yeah, because I'm like, I just cannot keep getting sick like this. And I mean, you have so many people from so many different places. It's inevitable.
Mhm.
We're in close quarters, you're in a little tube for however many hours, you're going to get sick or you're going to have whatever it is that somebody else has.
Yeah.
So the first time I went out to an event, most recently, and I took my mask off for not even 10 minutes. Not even, I don't even think it was 5 minutes.
Oh my.
I caught a upper respiratory infection. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, what I'm saying? And so I was like, well, that's one of the things I knew I was probably going to get a cold or something just from taking it off. But I was like, good gracious, it's nuts. But let's get back to why we're here because I just went off on a tangent. When you started telling me about the COVID shot, I said, wait a minute now. I had to ask some
That
questions on that one.
question.
All right. So next question. What would you consider to be the best thing about starting your family in your 30s?
I'm gonna say one word, ready.
Ooh,
Imma
ready.
say
I like
ready.
that.
And the reason why
Explain.
I say that is because everybody's definition of ready is different.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say ready as the broad word,
Okay.
because I feel like in the 20s is when you're partying, dating multiple people,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
get to all the islands.
Mhm. Yes.
you've experienced every single slice of life. Like,
Yeah.
you've had that point where it's like, oh my God, I woke up with a hangover, or oh my God, I lost my credit card, or
Yeah.
you know, every
Yeah.
single. So I just feel like at 30s is like most of the time you're developed in your career, you
Mhm.
are where you are,
Mhm.
financially you're stable,
Mhm. Ideally.
socially you're stable, you have your
Mhm.
friends, you know who your go-to friends are.
Yeah.
Mentally, you're stable. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of things happen every single year, like we saw, but
Yeah.
mentally, you're stable.
Generally, yeah.
You know yourself. And personally, you're stable in the sense of you know yourself, you know who you want, whoever you're dating
Mhm.
at that time. You guys have already had the conversation about marriage. You guys have
Mhm.
already had the conversation about, your future. So I just think like 30 is more of the chapter where it's like, um, you're ready.
Yeah.
You're ready. Whether you want to get married,
Mhm.
whether you want to adopt, whether
Yeah.
you like whatever it is that you want to start your family with or how,
Mhm.
30s is usually the time because it's like
Yeah.
I can't even say no other word but ready.
Yeah. No, no, no. I feel that. It makes sense.
Yeah, like you just know yourself.
Mhm.
And
I
it's also like the next step.
Yeah, and I understand that. As a single person in her 30s,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm at peace. Now, I don't know if you got to the point of peace, but there's
Yeah.
this, like, calming sensation, and I probably say it way too much, but I love my peace. So, with that, though, how do you think or are you able to take that peace
Mhm.
and have it with a child? Because I know initially, the first couple months, that's probably a no.
Yeah.
But
No, the piece is shook. Like
yeah,
the
for sure.
it's a little shaky. Like I would say no, I didn't have peace for the first
You better say
not
it.
even gonna lie. After
Yeah.
delivering that baby, my baby,
Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh,
Ooh, I like that.
warm anxiety,
Oh,
anxiety."
yeah. Got a whole
But
new
I
little
think
life.
I think I like the word peace in the
Mhm.
sense of you can handle it.
Yes. Okay.
If
Okay.
anything was to happen, you know who you have a support system. You have
Okay.
that support financially, mentally. Like for instance,
Yeah.
there was a situation where I didn't get sleep for like a whole 24 hours.
Ooh.
And I because he just kept waking up, waking up, waking up.
No.
And I called my mom and I was like, "Mom, please, when you get off work, please come here and watch him for like
Yeah.
5 hours. Let me sleep."
Oh.
And so to me, that was part of my peace because in my mind, I already knew who to call.
Yeah.
I knew her answer.
Yeah.
And I already knew that I could depend on her. She'll be here for 5 hours watching
Yeah.
him let me sleep. So,
Yeah.
like, I do like the word peace, and then financially support as well. Whoever your partner
Mhm.
is, I'm gonna say a broad statement because everybody,
Of course, yeah.
whoever your partner is, they're your peace as well.
Yeah. They
Like,
should be.
yeah, they should.
They should be.
Happens to you or if you need a break, you should be able to call your partner and be like, "Hey, I
Absolutely.
need a break." And my partner was definitely that for me. Even though he was working more than me at
Mhm.
that time, he would come home and he would take over and I would like sleep for 2, 3 hours or stuff like that. So, it was a very good partnership and that was part of my piece as well. I would
See,
say.
now I think that makes sense, and I wanna talk about that for just a second. So
Mhm,
having a partner that is supportive, because I know there's a lot of single parents out there. So for just a second, we're gonna talk about the married folks, the partnered people.
mhm.
So having a partner that you can trust and support, I
Yep,
feel like having that person prior to, getting married. Well, I mean, clearly prior to getting married, because that's who you're finding, right?
yep,
But prior to having a baby, really, I
mhm.
feel like that is so like, that's key. You know what I mean? And I know, there's so many people that go through relationships and they just wanna have a baby, they just wanna get married, and I understand the sentiment. But
Mhm.
I'm like, finding somebody that you can count on, that you can trust, and you can support can make or break your entire situation and
Yeah,
experience.
and that's why, taking it back, I mean, I know this gonna rub some people the wrong way, but taking it back, that's why, like, back in the day, our parents will always push to us, "Get married before you have a family. Get
I
married
get
before
that.
you have a family." And, like, I know certain circumstances are not the best, you know what I mean?
Of course, things
But
happen.
to be honest with you, it kinda is the best, and it's not necessarily like, you guys don't have to be married,
Yeah.
for the child, but at least have someone stable and someone that you
Foundation.
trust,
Yeah.
a good solid foundation before the child comes. Because when the child comes, like y'all might not even have sex for like 6 months. You know
Wow.
what I mean? Y'all
Look,
might
I'm like, oh, wow.
not 6 months. Y'all might not even look at each other for 6 months. But
Oh,
in
yeah.
the back of your mind, you know, like he's holding me down.
Yeah.
He or she is holding me down, and I know
Yeah.
they're not going anywhere. They're here with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
They're
my
going through it with you. Yeah.
so I think, I mean, I used to always be like, no, dad, mom, because the judgment is in the back in the day, the way our parents think and stuff like that. Um, but I can see why.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, because if anything happens to you and that your partner, you at least know that the child is there and they will always step up for the child like they were when you
Hmm.
guys were together.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a part of, and just kind of bringing it back into the 30s versus 20s.
Mhm.
I think that's a part of the 20s, right? So
Yeah.
to me anyway, you kind of flush some folks out. You figure out what you want. You figure out what you need in a partner in general,
Mhm.
whether you're doing it consciously or subconsciously. But you find things that you like, things that you don't like.
Right. And
And I
it's
think,
very important. Ooh.
yeah, you know what I mean? And I think it's so beneficial,
Yep.
just to wait. And not to say anybody is, right or wrong for
Mhm.
having a baby whenever they do, but I
Mhm.
think that's some of the benefits of being able to wait until your 30s.
Yes.
So I like that.
And
So,
some people like to have their babies early.
of course, and
That's
I
fine.
absolutely understand that.
When you do have your baby early, just make sure that whoever you have it with is
Yeah.
solid like a rock.
Yeah.
Because in the
Same
20s,
thing applies.
yeah, in our 20s, our emotions, we don't even know ourselves.
Yeah, no
I
joke,
didn't even
though.
know now that I'm in my 30s, I'm looking back in my 20s, I'm like, over there, like, what? Like you used
I'm
to be
telling you. I'm
like,
telling you, because I was a very different Erica back in my 20s.
same.
And I just it's like, it's funny because I used to always hear the older folks say, "Oh, something about your 20s." They say 20s and 30, 30s and 40s. They're
Mhm.
like, "Something just happened. I just like the best years of my life and blah blah blah." And I'm
Mhm.
like, actually, I feel that now being in my 30s. I'm like, I feel good.
Mhm.
Something just changed and all of a sudden things are going. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can handle whatever's thrown at me. And it's kind of like what you were talking about. It's
Yeah.
just a different that peace.
Yeah.
That's the thing that comes to mind is my peace. And
Yeah.
that's I think why I talk about that so much.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. So did you and your husband both want children?
Okay.
And did you talk about how many children you wanted and how far apart?
Okay. How many? Okay. So yes.
Hmm.
That was one of my questions on the first date.
Yes.
That was one of my
Okay. Tell me answers. Tell me questions. How'd you say it? Come on.
um I was like, "Are you interested in children? Do you like
Hmm.
children?"
Hmm. That's a big
I
one. Do
guess
you even like
before
them?
that, I asked them like, "Hey, how many siblings do you have?" Because
Okay.
siblings are a big thing. I found from me dating other men that the men that have more siblings tend to want children.
Ah,
That's my
interesting.
experience.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
wrong. Because I think they liked their upbringing and they liked
the family feel, maybe a lot of
the family
yeah.
feel. So I first found out how many siblings he had a child, and I was like, "Do you want kids?" And he
Mhm,
was like, "Yeah." And as far as how many kids,
mhm.
we knew we wanted one.
Okay, that's good.
We're still on the board about three. We know we want
Ooh,
another one,
okay, okay, okay,
but we're still on the board about three. So as far as like how many, I didn't really go over that. I just knew that he wanted children, so I was like, "All right,
okay.
good."
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another important question too is when do you want to start?
Ooh, I
That's a
like that.
different question because you know when do you because when he met me, he said he was ready, and I'm like, "Ready?
Mhm.
Ready for real?" What I mean? And I
And you
was
were what,
clear.
25, 26, something like that?
I was like
Okay.
25, 26. So I was very clear with him that I'm not ready now.
Yeah, no,
And I
not at
said,
all.
we definitely have to, if this works out, we definitely have to get married first.
Yeah,
And I would like to enjoy you first
I
before
love
we have
that.
kids. I made that
See?
clear
Yeah,
beginning. I think that's a big question a lot of people don't ask.
yeah.
You know
My
what I
thing is communication because I feel like a lot of what you're going through, and whether you ask those specific questions or not, I think it's much better too to get all the details up front.
mean?
But just communication at each step, whatever you're feeling, however you're feeling.
Mhm.
Listen, like this is how I feel. What do you think?
Right, right, right,
Communication.
right. I think the communication has to be clear. And then another question too is what happens if there's a uh-oh? You know what I mean?
That's a
What
good
happens
one.
if there's a uh-oh? Are you big on the abolishment? Are you big on?
Not the abolishment.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I feel you, I feel you. I like the way you said that, abolishment. I was like, uh-oh. That got real.
Are you a morning after pill? I mean, we
Yeah.
gotta get real.
I
Whoever
feel
that
you.
person, we gotta be real with them. Like,
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's actually a really good question. I think people tend to shy away from the abortion question
yeah.
just because there's a lot of, same thing with what you talking about, COVID, politics, is all much like all in there some kind of way, right?
Mhm.
But that's a big question, and
It is a
it
big
makes a lot of sense.
Yes, because if there's a mistake or
Yeah.
uh-oh,
And for
a lot
sure.
of people don't feel like any child's a mistake based on your religion.
And I
I'm a
understand
big
that.
thing with that too.
Yeah.
But I'm also a big thing when it comes to, is it the right time and
Yeah.
financially, you know, are you in the space?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You don't want to bring a child to the earth and you don't have support.
Absolutely.
The support is
1000%.
real, for
1000%.
real. So I
And I
think
will tell any woman that you have a choice.
you have a
You
choice.
have
You have
choices. Yeah.
a choice. And I think that's another question. I mean, a comment to bring up as well as like, are you the type of partner that will let me make the choice? Or the type of
That's a
partner
good
that's like,
question.
no, we're gonna have this child.
Yeah. See, then that caused a whole other
That's a
set of
whole
issues.
other
Yeah.
podcast session, honey.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, we can get all into that one. Hold on.
just listening to my friends' stories and things that they've been through, and just reading up on different things and different
Yeah.
situations and stuff. I'm like, there's a lot of questions you gotta ask.
Yeah.
A lot of
No
things you gotta
joke.
talk about. Yeah.
I love that. And it's funny. I mean, not funny, but it's some things that I actually didn't think about. And I guess
Yeah.
being a woman with no kids, and I guess that's probably hindsight for you as well. Like thinking
Yeah.
like, oh, I should have asked, or I did ask, and just having those questions
And yeah.
available and that communication key.
Yeah, and these are things that can just come up as, like, random conversations. You guys are at
Yeah.
dinner and, like, something comes up, or you guys are watching a movie and the
Yep.
topic comes up. Like,
Yep.
that's the whole point of dating. Everybody
Yep.
thinks some people think, like, dating is, like, going out to eat, doing no, it's about the conversation too.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Getting
about
to know
making
somebody.
sure you really get to know that person because
Yeah.
they might be your husbands. It's a
Yeah.
potential prospect. So it's like, yeah.
No, I 1000% get that.
Mhm.
So for all the ladies in their 20s, go ahead, listen up, listen up. The ladies in their 30s like me who haven't had the babies yet, listen up. This is what we're here for, yeah.
And it's not late. It's not
It's
late.
not.
Okay,
It's not.
you won't find the one. Trust me, child. You won't find the
Listen,
one.
I'm all about my peace these days.
I know.
If you can't come with the peace, baby, I can't have it.
And you can have it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my number one priority these
Yeah.
days. And the
Mm.
little cat that you probably just saw rolling around here.
I did. I was like,
Yeah, he was moving. It's two of them. So you might see them both. They just moving. It's fine. So next question is, how do you think things would have panned out differently if you would have started your family earlier or later? And
mm,
explain.
earlier. I was thinking about that the other day. Oh
Mhm.
wow, that would have been rough.
Yeah. How so?
Rough. I think that would have been rough because I still wanted to go out, child.
Mhm.
I wanted to be out.
I wanted to be outside.
Was like when I first started dating my husband, we used to be out
Yeah.
weekend, every event, this, that.
I
I wanted
love
to be
it.
out. So juggling a child, I know I would have been selfish at times. I already know. I was very selfish in my 20s.
Yeah.
I was very
See,
selfish.
but that's self-awareness, and I feel like that's what you need your 20s for.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like partying, this, that, going out, always at someone's event, always felt like I had to show up for someone's event.
Yeah.
That would have been child. And I think as far as financially, I would have been okay.
Mhm.
I would have been okay. Mentally, I don't think, like I said, I would have been in that mindset of partying.
Yeah.
Socially, I would have been okay. There's a couple friends that didn't make it with
It
me
happens.
after COVID.
It happens. Mhm.
So that was a little like
Yeah.
but I think I would have been okay. I think right now I'm at a good 80%.
Okay.
I never give myself 100. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
I think back then I probably would have been a good 50 to 60.
Ooh.
I ain't gonna lie.
Ooh.
I'm not even gonna lie. Because I think my whole mindset has changed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Now, is that because you got pregnant or is that just because you got older?
that's a good question.
Mhm.
I wanna say because I wanna say a little bit of both.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think once you see that child, you just know what you're living for.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I like the way you said that. Mhm.
You know, like, when you make certain decisions, you think about your child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Um, and, um, later, I don't know if I would have done later
How so? Tell me.
because I'm a big, big, I read a lot, so the risk is higher.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Um, and I'm the type of person that it's like, if I'm single and I ain't meet nobody by 40, then I'm just gonna be the rich aunt. I'm
Yeah, listen.
You know what I mean? I mean, I can
Mhm.
try other medicines,
Yeah, of course.
IVF route and stuff like that, but I just feel like sometimes God just has a purpose, and if you don't necessarily find anyone that you are
Mhm.
attracted to or, meet your qualifications, then
Mhm.
live it up and keep going, girl. Like,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
everybody's gonna have kids. It's
That
okay.
is accurate. That is 100% accurate. And I think a lot of that is society, where
Yeah,
you feel as a woman like you have this pressure, like, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have a baby? And some of us don't want that. I know plenty of women who don't want kids and who
don't
don't
want
want to,
kids,
or
you don't
don't
want
want to get married.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, and you don't have to. Everybody has their life. You don't have to have the
Yeah,
specific life. You know what I mean?
it's
So I 100% agree with that. I
mhm,
feel like I'm 32 now. So
mhm.
I feel like and I did have that pressure. So at 30
I was gonna say,
or
how'd
I guess
you
like
feel?
20,
Yeah.
yeah, at 29, I was like, "Oh god. I'm a man, I don't have a baby." So I started to panic. And
Mhm,
so I went through the fertility clinic. And
mhm.
so I got all the way to the point of like looking at sperm donors and things like that. And then I was like, I'm doing this because I'm rushing. This is not the right reason to continue, right? So I think around the time I was 30, probably, yeah, 30 or
Mhm.
31, about to turn 31, I started looking into adoption because I'm like, well, I really do want a baby. So that's the message. Like, I know that I want a family, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, so I can do this some way. And of
Mhm.
course, my mother's like, you don't have to have a man to have a baby. And I'm like, I hear that. I do hear it. But that support system that you were talking about earlier, that's real, right? And so when you're doing it by yourself and the grandparents ain't gonna be over here babysitting all the time, you
Wow,
gotta rethink that whole situation.
you gotta buzz them up a little bit, like, "Hey, mom."
Baby, my parents are in their 50s and one is about to be 60 now. They are not about this have an infant in the house
I
life.
was like,
Okay.
right.
So they're like, listen, you gotta have that baby knowing that you have some support outside of us. They
Mhm.
were like, we will be there to help when we can, but that don't depend on us like that. We're not the go to every time.
They
So
being
I get
real,
it.
child, they being real, so
Yeah, and that's what it is, right?
mhm, mhm,
All right. So let's go to the next question.
okay.
What considerations were made before you and your husband knew you were ready to have kids? Like, did you put anything in place, any plans or anything like that?
We wanted to okay, so we made sure we at least had a townhouse or a
Okay.
house,
Mhm.
right? We
Mhm.
need space. Um, my husband started doing the childcare dependent savings system type
Okay.
thing,
Got
so
it.
every month he would put money into, like, a because we weren't sure if we were doing, like, childcare or nanny
Okay.
or anything like
Yeah.
that. So he started that. Um, what else did it? We made sure we had a good savings too, because I
Yeah.
always told him that like if I have the child, I would like to stay home with them for at least
Mhm.
6 months. That was
Yeah.
my goal. So we made sure we had a good amount of change.
Mhm.
Um, and we talked a lot about it. I ended up this child for me is a rainbow child.
Aw.
Because my first pregnancy didn't make it, but it was more
Aw.
so like a chemical pregnancy. And the chemical pregnancy is kind of like it usually all happens in 1 week, and it's usually
Oh.
that 1 week that the egg and the sperm meet, and the implantation process doesn't work. So
Okay.
basically, the egg wasn't. I mean, the fetus wasn't even. It wasn't nothing. It was just
Yeah.
the egg and the sperm didn't connect. but somehow I still had an implantation process going on.
Got it.
My
Okay.
body was like, okay, you must be pregnant, giving me the signs and symptoms that I was. But when they took ultrasounds, nothing's there.
Nothing.
So that's what
Okay.
they saw. So technically, I had a you know what I mean? I had a miscarriage. They still
Yeah.
categorized that. So I think when we went through that, that was a kind of like, because when I first found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh shit, I'm about to do this.
It's happening.
And I think it was a lot of like counting my calendar, watching
Mm.
the process. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
when that happened, I literally threw the calendar away. I bought the
Uh,
full ovulation kit. I threw it away. I don't even know where that thing is at. I told my husband, I was like, let's just go for like just free ball.
yeah. Not the free ball, baby.
I mean, that's what I could say. Let's just do whatever. Let's just have fun.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
got pregnant. So I just think that was also a preparation for me, because
Mm.
I think when you know you want to get pregnant, you start to like really listen into all these
Mm-hmm.
like,
It becomes work.
yeah, like
Yeah.
ovulation, this, count this.
Yeah.
No, just do it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Just have fun with it. And I think that also prepared me in the sense of like to be more relaxed, because I can get,
Yes.
my anxiety can get really high.
Oh.
I do believe I'm a true Virgo, so I like to think I'm a planner. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Me
you
too.
want to do something, tell me what time, what
Yeah.
day. Really,
I
like,
need it down to the moment. Yeah.
I need to know. I have a calendar. For instance, like today, I put in my calendar, girl. That's why I was asking you what
Yes.
time.
Yes. Come on.
I'm not always on time though,
Yeah.
but
It happens to the
I need
best
to
of us.
try. So I think those are some big considerations I took into. Yeah, I
Okay.
took into. I started looking about. So, yeah, those are. I mean, that was it. I would say.
And those are
Yeah,
some really good points. All right.
yeah.
So, next question for you, though. How was your experience being pregnant and during delivery? Do you think
Mhm.
things would have been different had you had kids earlier or later?
Mm. I think if I would have had a child earlier, I probably would have snapped back quicker.
That snapback. See,
A
but let's talk about that for a second. I don't know if that snapback is real. Some people just have the genes, you know? And I'm
Mhm.
like, I understand the snapback. I don't want women to feel like they have to snap back, and if they don't, something's wrong, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I'm like, I think honestly, it's just your genetic makeup.
it is changed. So I think the
Yeah.
term snapback is not a good term. Um, but what I will say is that I was a little bit more in shape when I was younger.
Yeah.
I
I
was
think we
working out.
all were, 'cause
I was
mm,
working less. We all
okay.
were, right?
Yeah, yeah, that
High,
metabolism, baby.
yeah. So I would say, let me say that because that's genetics. That's
Yeah,
every.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Um, during pregnancy, I had a good pregnancy. The only issue I was having is I did have fibroids.
Okay, mhm.
I mean, I do have fibroids.
Yeah.
So fibroids. There was one night I was experiencing like really bad pain. I thought I was in labor, and I was only in the second
Oh.
trimester. So
Oh,
when I got to
no.
the
Yeah.
hospital, they did an ultrasound. They were like, "No, it should be a fibroids. The baby looks okay."
Yeah.
And then that's when it really dinged to me, like, wow, these I do have fibroids, because I've always been told in the past, but I've never had like
Mm.
serious. Um, I've never had hard periods in the sense of
Yeah.
like I can't go to school. I'm like
Yeah.
they've been pain free for the most part. So
That's
during
good.
pregnancy is when I started to experience those crampings.
Yeah.
It happened like once a month.
Okay.
And so
Wow.
what I realized is as my progesterone and estrogen,
Mhm.
LH, all those hormones were going up, it was also feeding
Into the
fibroid,
yeah, yeah.
fibroid and the blood flow and all that. So that's one thing I would say I definitely experienced that no one talks about.
Yeah. Yeah.
The delivery was great, but it is important to make sure you have a healthcare provider that you're comfortable with. I did a
Okay.
really
Talk
big
more about that.
That was another thing I did before I got pregnant, I forgot to mention.
Mhm.
Research your doctor, research your OBGYN office. Make
Mhm.
sure it's an office that you're comfortable with. Make sure you go there. Don't just pick anybody else, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So the office that I was doing all my GYN visits, I was very familiar with them. And
Okay.
once I got pregnant, they told me immediately, they're like, listen, we know you see this doctor, but you're gonna see all of us because
Yes.
the on-call schedule is crazy
Yeah. Could
and
be
you know
anybody.
who you're gonna have. So I liked that. I did
Mhm.
see everybody I felt comfortable with.
Good.
During delivery, I actually made it past the 40 weeks.
Okay.
So on the day I was due, I went to the hospital. I
Mhm.
went to do my OB visit, and the doctor that saw me is the doctor that actually wanted to deliver me.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I saw her and I was like, she was like, okay, you can come back in a week or we can
Whew.
this week. And I
Yeah.
said, what's your schedule?
Yeah.
And
When are
she said,
you available?
today or tomorrow. I said, okay, I'm there tonight.
Yeah, I love it. Listen at you. Right there.
I
Just
went,
give me a couple minutes.
did the production process, everything, and she delivered my baby. So
Wow.
I just think, and I felt very comfortable.
Mhm.
Because there's a whole different topic on Black maternity health. Like
Yes. Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, ma'am.
that is
Yes,
just a
ma'am.
whole nother podcast, child. But we can
Yep.
talk a little bit about it. But I
Yeah.
think it's very, very important to make sure. I'm not going to just say Black provider because I'm a
Mhm.
Black female.
Mhm.
I think it's important that you have a Black provider. I mean, I think it's important that you have a provider
Mhm.
that listens to you and supports you and that you
Yes.
feel comfortable with. Because one of my girlfriends just had a baby and her provider was white.
Yeah.
She that's her second child.
Yeah.
She loves her provider. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna get into the race card here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I understand it though. I understand what you're saying.
I'm gonna say you need to make sure you have a provider that you trust. Because the one
Mhm.
I trusted her.
Yeah.
Before we had the baby, she like came to me, was hugging me, and she was just like, "You can do this,
Mhm.
big baby. Well, we gonna do
Yeah.
this." It was very real. She was just very honest,
Yeah.
and that's my whole thing. As a healthcare provider, please be honest with me. If something's
Yeah.
not going right, let me know.
I would agree with that. And
It's
I
just
think
very
even
honest.
yep, and even just taking it out of, pregnancy and OBGYN, any provider because even
Provider.
like I said, I haven't had a baby yet, but I know I've had to leave some physicians because I just feel like they either don't care about me or they're just nasty or, you could say that you're in pain or whatever the case is, and they're like, "Oh, it's something else." And I'm like, "No, no, I'm telling you what I'm feeling." You know what I mean? So I completely agree, and I would second that one. Make
I
sure
do.
whoever you see, you
Are you
trust.
listening to me? Are you listening to me?
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes.
Listen, like, and that's something that, I try to enforce in myself every day when I see patients. I'm like,
Mhm.
I just sit there and keep quiet. Like, I'm listening.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I want to hear your concerns. I want to hear how you feel. Um, so yeah, those are the biggest things I would say that happened during my pregnancy and
mhm.
as far as delivery goes.
I like it. So,
Yeah.
do you think that it would have been different had you had the baby later?
Mm.
Look at that face.
Because I mean, if I no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the only thing that probably would have changed if I had it later is that I would be a little bit more where I want to be financially in the sense of
Okay.
like I plan on doing, I started a business, so
Mhm.
my business probably would have been more successful later on, will be more
Mhm.
successful in the future.
I
Um,
understand.
I probably would be in a bigger house.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I don't know. I think health wise, that's when a little bit gets concerning for me.
For sure. For sure.
Um, but no, I don't think there will be any changes later. I probably wouldn't be able to have as much kids as I want to have.
That's yeah. Well, I don't know. There was a 66-year-old lady in Brazil that had twins. I don't
I won't be able to have the kind of kids I want to have. But
know.
I
Yeah.
think that's about it.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Okay. And so I want to ask you, what did waiting to start your family do for you and your husband's relationship?
We got into every freaking fight you can think of.
About anything and everything? Is that what you're telling me?
Everything, yeah. Even
That's actually
after,
probably a good thing.
I
Yeah.
think waiting after you get married is very important.
Yeah. Talk
And
more
it's
about that.
funny because I got attacked verbally
Oh, I was like,
at
what?
a friend's baby shower because I mentioned that.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's
It's an
looking,
unpopular opinion, I'm
looking,
sure.
they were like, "No, she gonna have her kids right away, have your kids
Yeah.
right away." Duh, duh, duh. And
Yeah.
my biggest advice was wait.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Explain. Go ahead, talk about.
wait. And the reason why I said is because you think you know your partner, you don't. Papers to sign, honey, they might be a little bit of change.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because some people move in after or before. So
Yeah.
I moved in with my husband until like 6 months before the wedding.
Okay. Okay.
So I had like 6 months to kind of
Before to get to know him really.
before I
To
really
really get to
got
know him.
ready. Like, I don't wanna do this. But I think after you get married, that's when like the family dynamic comes in. It's
Mm.
the in-laws.
Oh, yes. Okay.
That's
Okay.
important. That's important because
Talk about that.
you really start to get to know each other.
Mhm.
When me and my husband moved in, when I moved in with my husband, the in-laws would come by, his mom, his dad, my mom, my dad. So and I kind of really got to see the dynamic between
Mhm.
him and my parents, and he got to see the dynamic between me and his parents. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like because my
Interesting.
parents took him in as a son,
Right. Right.
my parents took me as a daughter.
Yeah.
So things like that. Um, Money, you're bringing two accounts together.
Yep.
You're bringing two accounts together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um
So, pause right there for just a second. Now, do you think it's necessary? And I guess learning from your 20s about money and things. Some people don't really learn until they're in their 30s or 40s or whatever about,
very,
finance and money.
it's
So
very
how do you feel about that? And do you feel like it was necessary to blend your finances?
so I think in your 20s you need to know how much you make,
Mhm.
and you need to learn how to save.
For sure.
One thing I didn't do, I didn't invest.
Okay.
Need
Yeah,
to know
that's a big one.
how to
Mhm.
invest. And you need to budget.
Yes.
Like if I want
Budgeting.
$100 pair
Yes.
of shoes and I only got $500 in my account, you know what I mean? Can you buy
Yeah.
the shoes, or are you gonna go grab your credit card to buy the shoes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Little decisions like that, you gotta
Mhm.
learn to kind of sway away from temptation when it comes to
Mhm.
things like that. And I learned that in my 20s. So when I got to my 30s, I felt financially stable because I
Okay.
could be able to make the decision like, no, Obinne, you don't need these Dior sunglasses. You
Yeah.
don't.
Are you sure? Are you sure you don't need them? The little devil on the side, the angel on the you
No, that you
sure?
don't
These are
need
cute, right?
this because rent is due next week. Like
Yeah,
things
hello.
like
Hello.
that.
Yeah.
Things like
I
that are
got that.
important. So that's why I would say it's very important in the 20s to kind of learn finances. And I think us as Black people, we just are very ignorant to the issue.
It's
I'm
unfortunate. I
I'm
think there's
focused on talk about our people because that's
yeah,
I'm our people. I'm
yeah.
Black. I can't talk about nothing else.
I think that's the biggest thing, and I feel very strongly about it, and I always have. I've
Mhm.
been from the time I think I was like 12. I've been all about personal finance and budgeting. That's one of my favorite pastimes, which is real strange. I love to budget, right?
Okay.
I feel like that is one thing we need more education on in
Yeah,
general.
definitely do. We
You know what I
definitely
mean? And that's one of my goals in life.
yeah.
To bring more financial education and more financial awareness to folks, to
Mhm.
to Black people and people of color in general.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because that is a huge thing, and that does definitely it could either take your relationship somewhere else. It could benefit or it could deter.
Yeah.
So because I mean, think about it. Like you could have had a partner who is horrible with money, or vice versa.
Mhm.
How would you figure that out? Would the relationship work?
That's something you need to talk about when you're dating
Absolutely.
because one thing I noticed is that once I got married, I started to realize how much like how he spends his money.
Mm-hmm.
Th I didn't notice that before you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah,
care. Your
that
money
makes
was your
sense.
money, my money was my money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But when our money's like when our finances came together, I'm like, "Okay, this is the kind of stuff you spend your money on." And then he
Yeah.
realized what I spent my money
Yeah.
on. Things like decor, girl, like, okay, are we painting little things
Oh,
like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
We painting the walls white or orange. Right now it's orange 'cause I won. But, um, little things like that,
Yeah.
like who's cooking? Who's going to clean the house? How are we
Yes.
gonna clean the house?
Yeah.
Like different responsibilities. Who's cutting the grass? Like
Yeah. Now did that change after having a baby?
oh, yes.
Yeah? Okay, so tell me more about that.
I have a cleaning crew that
There
comes.
you
I
go.
do that.
Yep. I
No.
totally agree with that one.
I do a little bit in between.
Yeah, for sure.
No, girl.
I've heard people say that before, and it
Come on. Boop,
takes
boop.
a load off, they say.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
love it.
We have somebody that stays with us that helps with the baby now.
Okay.
I was a big
I love
before
that.
we
Is
had
that like a au pair?
yes, but
Okay.
we didn't do an au pair. We actually
Okay.
have my in-law,
Okay.
my husband's grandmother's sister that stays with us.
Okay.
So we call her grandmother because That's
Yeah.
just a cultural thing and
Mhm.
just respect. She stays with us, so she helps with the baby as well.
Love it.
The beginning, it was very hard for me because in my head I was like, okay, when Mike's off, he gonna have the baby. When I'm off, I'm gonna have the baby.
Yes.
Schedule didn't work like that. It didn't
Makes
work
sense.
like that. So I
Yeah.
had to just be like, okay, I gotta have somebody help. And that
Yeah,
was a big thing for me because I'm always the type of person that likes to take all responsibility. Like I can
I
do
get
this.
that.
But sometimes when you have the baby, you just gotta I need help.
Yeah, and I get that. So how did that new scenario now affect the marriage and change that, now having somebody else live with you?
It affected it. I mean, the good thing is that she's family.
Yes, of
So
course, yeah.
I'm very acquainted with her. So
Mhm.
I have a relationship with her. And this even happened before the marriage.
Okay,
I
okay,
was
good.
very comfortable with her staying with us.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is that the way my husband and I run the household is different than what she's used to.
Mhm.
So we kinda had to break it down as far as rules and what to do and what not to do and how you
Yeah,
should do this and how you should do that. And that was a little frustrating in the sense of,
of
like,
course.
just communicating because she's a lot older than me,
Yes,
and
yes.
when you're talking to an older individual, you wanna talk to them in a certain way because if
Mhm.
not, they're gonna think that you're being very sarcastic or rude
Mhm.
or talking down to them.
Yeah.
And I'm a Virgo, I'm very blunt, so I had to
Yeah.
I had to figure out how to say certain things there, and I'm still learning that today.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That'll help with the baby too.
yes,
And relationships, husband, all of that,
yes.
yeah.
So because of that, the way I talk to my husband is way different than than the way I talk to him when we didn't have kids.
Got it.
I'm a little bit
Interesting.
more caring, and I'm a
Okay,
little bit more kinder, like,
okay.
um
I love those things.
yeah, definitely, because before I used to be very cut and dry.
Yeah.
Cut and dry, but now the baby's I show a little bit of emotion when I talk,
Yeah.
um, and I also make sure I ask him first, "How are you feeling?" before I say
Oh, I
something.
love that. Yeah. Now
Um,
that's great self-awareness, and
yeah,
that's so
because
interesting how that's changed you.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, he's told me a couple times.
Oh, okay,
That's
okay. So he put the light on, and he's like, "Wait a minute. All right now."
yeah, and that's why, marriage is important because whoever your partner is, they have to be real with you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he's like, "Okay, the way you're talking to me is not it."
Yeah. I love that. I mean, it just boils down to the same thing we talked about.
Yeah,
Communication is
patient.
key.
And I had to kinda
Key.
swallow it, and I'd be like, "The reason why I'm talking like this because I haven't slept in 12 hours. I'm sorry."
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know?
be able to apologize.
Yeah.
That is a big yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And the apology thing, I'm still working on.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause, we
All
always
right.
we're right.
Self-awareness.
Uh,
Self-awareness.
but self-awareness is my self-awareness has definitely gone up since the baby girl.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I didn't even know
I
who,
love
like,
that.
every day I look in the mirror, I'm like, "Okay." So, yeah, I would say those are the biggest changes,
I
um,
love it.
since the baby, but yeah.
Okay. Well, that's yeah, I was gonna say, take a deep breath. I see you. It's all right, and I get it, and I
'Cause
love
now that
that
I'm talking to you, it's like
you're running through, and that's what I was just gonna say. I love that you can
running
actually kinda,
through
like,
it.
go through and, like, see how it's going, I
Mhm.
think that's
I'm
wonderful,
running
and
through
that's
it,
what
yeah.
conversations are about. One, to
Yeah.
learn and look back, and then to help others, right?
Yep.
That's why we're doing it. We're talking to people who are going through or have been through or about to go through what you've been through,
Yeah.
and so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted this platform, just to have so that we could all kinda talk in a safe space, right? So we all kinda go through things. Everybody can get the things off their chest. We can talk about the unpopular opinions. We can talk about whatever we need in a safe environment, and that
Yeah.
is what I wanted. So I wanna thank you so much for coming in. I have one more question because I don't wanna take up too much of your time,
You're fine,
but,
yeah.
let's get right into it. So, the last question is, do you have any advice for any women or partners, couples who have waited or want to wait to have children or start family in their 30s?
Kinda piggybacking off, what I was saying earlier, just make sure whoever you wanna start a partner with, right, regardless of your sexuality,
Mhm.
make sure they are very supportive and you feel comfortable in the sense of you can depend on them.
Yeah.
Dependability is very important. Dependability, support, positivity.
Mhm.
Another thing. I'm not even going to talk about the money thing because nowadays is
Yeah.
um
I think it's important, but I think it's just hard,
it's
especially with
hard.
COVID and
It's hard. So
gas prices.
that's why I wanted to go into that because
Yeah.
before COVID I'd be like, no, financially this
Yeah.
is girl, none of us can afford this.
Baby, it's crazy out here. I mean, and we
Serious?
didn't even get into the cost of like daycare today. Like nuts. So I get it. I
So
get
yes,
it.
they should have some financial stability that you
Stability.
are
Yeah.
comfortable with. If you
Yes.
are comfortable with him making $100,000 a year, that's it. If
Yep.
you're not, then that's your opinion. But
Yeah.
whatever financial ability you're comfortable with, I will say that.
Hmm.
But nowadays, with everything psychiatric wise that's going on because
Yeah.
of COVID, mentally is very important. So you want to make sure that person mentally supports you, very
100%.
positive. You can depend on them.
Hmm.
Um, and then another point I would say, just make sure you have fun. Have your fun first
Yeah.
before you have your family. A lot of people are gonna come and be like, "Oh, you can have fun with your kids." Blah, blah, blah. Come on, y'all. We
Yeah.
know that once you have that child, things change.
Yeah. They changed 1000%. Yeah.
Change. Your 20s, you're allowed to go out at 4, come back 4 a.m. and then sleep till 2, 3, 4 p.m. in the
Yeah.
afternoon. But with
That
the
baby is
child,
not gonna have it. Yeah.
yeah, I don't care what nobody says.
Yeah.
And if you say, yeah, you lying. Because even with a nanny, you can't. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to hear it.
I
I
hear
think
that.
because when you have a child, you naturally wake up. Like for instance, my son's not here today. I just naturally woke up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
But I'm used to getting up before he gets up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say enjoy your 20s first.
Make all the mistakes, huh?
Make all your mistakes and learn yourself. If you're not going to
Mhm.
learn somebody else, please learn about yourself first. And
Please.
if you hit 28, 29, or 27 and you like, I'm ready, those are the key points you want to make sure you hit first. Make sure
Yeah.
you have that supportive partner, make sure you know yourself, and then have fun. I mean,
Yeah.
those are my biggest advice. And that's just personally what I've been through.
Mhm.
It worked for me. And I don't regret it. I'm happy I waited till 30s. I'm so
Yeah.
happy. Looking at my 20s, I'm like, what? So I was still sleeping on the couch after coming out from the club.
Yeah.
To my
That
room.
poor baby would have been in there like, "Where's my mama? Where's
Where's
she
my
at though?"
mama? Like, waking up, seeing me with the clothes from last night. Like, come on, y'all. I'm being real. That's just me. Like,
That's
mom,
hilarious.
why your hair look like that? And your lips all
Jesus,
in
yeah.
your face. Oh, because I came back from the club. I didn't wash my
Makeup
face yet.
smeared, yeah.
Like, okay. Like, come on, y'all. So
I
just
love it, but it's
real.
real. It's
Yeah.
so real, and I
That's the
love
thing
that.
that I think people forget. We only have one life to live.
Hello,
Really.
talk to him. I wish I had a little bell. Ding,
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 ding.
ding. Enjoy the
Yeah,
moment. If you want to go to that concert, if you want to go out, hang out,
do it.
do
Do it.
it. Because once you have children, and one thing I learned is like with my child, like with kids, they watch their parents. Like they could
Absolutely.
be playing games, and you think they're not paying attention to you. They're
Sponges.
everything. Yes, sponges. They're watching everything.
Absolutely.
They're watching everything. Like he
Mhm.
took a spoon the other day and was doing this to the plate because I was being nice to him or
Oh.
something. Like they learn. They're watching you, so you want to be the best you can be.
Mhm.
Have your child because they're watching you, literally.
I love it.
Yes.
I hope that everybody got something out of that. This episode I feel like was so necessary, and it hit on a lot of pieces and a lot of parts that I think people don't really talk about publicly or a lot. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm so grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Once again, before we get out of here, just let everybody know where they can follow you and your name of your business, things like that.
So I'm actually on Instagram. You can follow my business. I started a new business called the New Me Aesthetics. We are a Black owned, women owned med spa that provides Botox and filler services. So we are the type of business that we just want to bridge the gap.
Mhm.
We treat all types of women, minorities included, and we just want to help you make you feel like the new me.
I love it.
Hint the name, a new me.
Yeah.
Um,
I love it. I love it.
if you're interested and you love aesthetics and you're interested in getting some services done, definitely hit us up on Instagram. and love to see you there. DM us
Sure.
if you're interested.
Give us the hashtag for it.
So it's a new me aesthetics. So it's going to be ANUMEE aesthetics. So when you type that in, you'll get it right away.
I love it.
And just DM us if you're interested. We also have our phone number and everything on there for you to book us.
Wonderful. And are you guys based in Maryland?
So we're based in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
My partner and I, we can come anywhere in Maryland. We right now we're doing like a concierge service, so we can
Okay.
come to your home and do the services.
Love it.
We're working on getting a location in Columbia.
Okay.
So if you're
Wonderful.
interested in the area, you can also come by and get services done. Another addition that we're going to be adding in the future is laser hair removal.
Love it. You'll see me for that.
A lot of people are big on that. So
Yep.
hopefully by the end of the year, we will have that service added,
I love it.
and we'll be providing that service. Yep.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Obinne. And
Thank
what I'll do is
you.
I'll have all that information in the description so
Okay.
everybody can get to you.
Okay.
And wonderful. I appreciate you. So, we're out. We'll see you next
All right.
episode.
See ya.
I want to truly thank you all so much for tuning in today. And I want to thank Miss Obinne for coming in and spending time and sharing her wisdom with us. Also, be sure to tag at NXSNS Nonstop if you have any comments or questions for me or any topic suggestions. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until we meet again, I wish you healthy minds and happy travels.